If someone told me what I was going to go through on opioids, I probably wouldn't have done it. Hello, my name is Kirk Foat, and in 2008, I experienced a severe injury to my right hand while I was on vacation. As a result of that injury, I thankfully had 4 hand surgeries in London, Ontario, which saved my right hand. As a result of those surgeries, I started taking opioid medication to counteract the pain that I was experiencing. Over an 8.5-year period, I took over 600 scripts. Being on opioids created a mind fog. I couldn't decipher regular things. My sleep was often interrupted, and I really couldn't get to any normal emotions. As time went on, I felt like I was becoming a lesser version of myself. Even though I kept my medication in a locked safe, I always had a very large concern that my young children, 3 and 5 at the time, would find a stray pill. A key point that I learned from my psychologist before I started my taper was the difference between pain and how I was interpreting this pain. Let me give you an example. When I'd be on the road driving to a meeting in Toronto, and I'd be gripping the steering wheel for about 3 hours, the way I originally thought of the pain was really in a circle. Man, this pain is awful. Let me take a pill. Wait 15 minutes. This pain is, I think, even worse. Let me take another pill. So this cycle of pain is the way I used to think about pain. After I learned these tips from my psychologist, the way I thought about pain was I'd acknowledge the pain and then move on. During the 7-month process of tapering, it was really hard for me to prepare what I'd experienced during an actual taper. It started off with every 3 weeks, I dropped 10 milligrams of oxyneo, and I would do the taper. I would start the taper on a Thursday or Friday, and I'd planned to be really sick for those first 3 days. It was always the worst part of the taper. And then come Monday morning, after I was done sweating, being very sick, experiencing things like restless leg, and just think of your worst nausea, your worst diarrhea, and you'd experience that, you'd know it's coming and you'd prepare for it. So the 7-month taper was really like a marathon in the sense that the sickness didn't go away. I truly understood why people stopped tapering and went back to the regular medication, because it was a lot easier. Once we got to 0, I should feel great, everything should be normal. It wasn't that way at all. Things were still very, very exaggerated. It took me about 9 months from the point of 0 to feel totally normal. It didn't happen quick enough, and an example my psychologist explained to me was, she said, "Kirk, during your medication, you were wrapped up in a blanket. You were protected by this barrier of medication from both pain and all your other emotions. That's the way you're going to continue to feel as the medication exits your body. And for many, many other reasons, I can't explain to you how long it's going to take for you to feel normal again. But in my case, it took 9 months, when in fact, we were hoping everything was going to be back to normal at the point of 0. And it's very satisfying for me to tell people about my experience, about what worked for me. I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but I'm a guy that did it. I'm a guy that got to 0.